Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed, and I'm glad about it. We thank Dr. Cornel West for that conversation, as we do every Monday and Thursday at the top of the second hour. We move from Professor Cornel West to Professor Ben Burgis, Rutgers University philosophy professor. So we got two philosophers back to back in the same hour, Cornel West and Ben Burgis. Let me just set the frame for Professor Burgis, and I'll let him jump in and express himself. But we were just talking to Dr. West, as you heard, about Iran. Donald Trump, in case you have not heard, yesterday said that Iran is crossing a number of red lines for the U.S. He's looking at some very strong options. Those are his words, that Iran is crossing a number of red lines for the U.S., and he's looking at some very strong options when it comes to Iran. That's on top of what we already know about Venezuela going in under the cover of darkness and kidnapping the president of that particular country, say nothing of all the threats against Cuba, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Greenland. He just yesterday, I think, maybe even today, I think it was last night though, he is touting himself as the acting president of Venezuela. That's what he said on his True Social account, that he is the acting president of Venezuela. That's how he refers to himself in social media. He has told Cuba to make a deal or face the consequences. When he says make a deal, he's told Cuba, you ain't getting no Venezuelan oil. I'm cutting off the oil unless and until you make a deal with us. Why? Because I am the acting president of Venezuela. That's what he told Cuba, make a deal or face the consequences. And this is what he had to say on Friday about Greenland.
I'm not talking about money for Greenland yet. I might talk about that. But right now, we are going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not, because if we don't do it, Russia or China will take over Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. And by the way, I'm a fan of Denmark too. I have to tell you, and they've been very nice to me. I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also, but we need that because if you take a look outside of Greenland right now, there are Russian destroyers, there are Chinese destroyers and bigger, there are Russian submarines all over the place. We're not going to have Russia or China occupy Greenland, and that's what they're going to do if we don't. So we're going to be doing something with Greenland, either the nice way or the more difficult way.
I've been at this for 30 plus years, so this is always funny to me. And it's always funny when you hear the audio of it as opposed to seeing it in person. So the minute he stops talking, the White House press pool goes crazy. That's the press pool. Everybody's screaming, yelling, shouting a question. That's what happens if you don't ask or call on a particular person. They all just start shouting at you. You can't hear nothing. And Trump just ignores all of them and just keeps talking. That is his way. But it's funny when you hear it audibly, he stops. It's all the White House press pool going crazy, yelling questions at him, and he ain't listening to them. He just goes on and continues pressing his agenda. But you did hear what he had to say about Greenland. He doesn't care what they think about it. We're going to have our way with Greenland if you believe what Donald Trump says. This, again, ties back into our conversation moments ago with Dr. Cornel West about Donald Trump's imperial impulses. I'll put it that way, these imperial impulses that he has. And so I asked Ben Burgis right about now whether or not this is just a bunch of talk, a bunch of hot air, whether or not Donald Trump is in the days to come will press even harder on those imperial impulses. Professor Burgis, good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Tavis. I think that with Trump, it's always easy to tell yourself that it's all hot air. He just says things. And in fact, most of the things that he says, he doesn't do. That's been a very consistent pattern. Mm-hmm. But the fun guessing game is always, when are you in the 5% of the things that he says that he's actually going to do? And some of the things that he's done in the last year have been absolutely remarkable. I mean, start with the strikes on Iran last year. I mean, this is something that, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had been trying to convince different American presidents to do for literally decades. And second round Trump was the first one to say yes. and then just an astonishing level of gangsterism with the regime change, or the regime change light in Venezuela. I mean, I can remember going to anti-war protests in 2002 and 2003, but people like me would say, oh, this is about the oil. We were told we were being ridiculous. This was simplistic. This is like a ridiculous way to see the world. And now Trump comes right out and says that it's about the oil.
Yeah. I just asked Professor West moments ago what he thinks BB is whispering into Donald Trump's ear. Here you come now, which I appreciate putting even finer point on it, reminding us that Trump did strike Iran heretofore at the urging of Bibi Netanyahu. In this particular moment, when we see all hell breaking loose inside of Iran, and Trump suggesting that they're crossing red lines, and he's looking at some very strong options, given the backstory that you just reminded us of. Let me ask you the question I asked Dr. West moments ago. What do you think Bibi is whispering in Trump's ear right about now?
Yeah, I think that Bibi is saying the kinds of things that he always says. Remember, Bibi was a big promoter of the invasion of Iraq. He was one of the people telling George W. Bush that the Iraqis would greet us as liberators. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that he's spinning a similar story here, that, if only the United States, steps in to help the people of Iran get their freedom, then everyone will be very grateful, and everything will go very well. Because the man has never seen a war that he doesn't like. And again, I don't know, and I don't pretend to know what Trump is going to do. I don't think anybody knows. I don't think Trump himself.
Yeah, he doesn't know. Yeah, exactly.
It's so impulsive, but I do think that he's acting in a way that is totally unbound by the kinds of restrictions that would have deterred previous U.S. policies. Like, I think the invasion of Iraq in 2003 was one of the greatest crimes of the 21st century. Mm-hmm. I don't want to minimize that, but if you compare Iraq to what happened in Venezuela, there was a year and a half of manufacturing consent. George W. Bush got on the TV and said, okay, Saddam Hussein has 48 hours or 72 hours or whatever it was to do this or that, or else, right? And in Trump's case, he just kind of decided to greenlight an operation to go kidnap him in the middle of the night, or last year with Iran. It's easy to forget this, but literally we were in the middle of negotiations with Iran when Trump surprised them with the bombing. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we talk about with Pearl Harbor, is the day that would live in infamy, that, they were talking peace, and they launched this surprise attack. So I think that given that backstory, I think there's a range. I think Trump may get bored and lose focus on it, but I think the sky's the limit as far as what he could do without warning.
Let me ask you this question now. I'm looking at my clock. Let me just I'll pose the question now. When we come forward, I'll let you respond to it. And that is what we heard Donald Trump say in that clip a moment ago, that we're gonna do whatever we're gonna do in Greenland, as he said, whether they like it or not. But then you heard him go on to say that essentially, if we don't seize Greenland, then Russia or China will. And I want to just get your take on that. What's that about? I mean, why is he making that claim that if we don't seize Greenland, that somebody's going to seize it, and likely it'll be Russia or China? Unpack that for us when we come forward. Ben Burgis, Rutgers University philosophy professor, right now on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Most people out here think that taking care of one another is important. And most people would step up for a neighbor going through a tough time. Most people around here help out friends and family when they need it. But the funny thing is, most of us won't look for help when we need it. If you're struggling with mental health, you should know that there are resources out there that can help. And it's okay to talk about it if you need to. One place to get started with information is loveyourmindtoday.org. Loveyourmindtoday.org offers a range of guides, instructions, and insights for dealing with difficult situations or getting through a tough time. If you're struggling with mental health, get the help you need, because most people out here really care. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're definitely going to be late to the concert. I feel like we should be there by now.
I'm just taking a little detour. I gotta fill up my gas tank, and I know this place a couple towns over where the gas is cheaper.
Are you serious? We're going to be late for the concert because you're driving out of the way for cheaper gas? Just use Upside.
What's Upside?
Upside is the free cashback app that gets you real cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait, I can get cash back just for buying the gas I need anyway?
Yes, I use it all the time, and I've made around $200. Now pull over so you can download the Upside app before we miss the concert.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code PATH25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank, PayPal, or as a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code PATH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code PATH25 for 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's code PATH25.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Ben Burgis, Rutgers University philosophy professor, socialist political commentator, and Jacobin columnist, talking about whether or not Donald Trump is just talking trash or whether or not Venezuela is just the tip of the iceberg for his imperialist impulses and tendencies. So you heard in that clip we played a few moments ago, Donald Trump suggested if we don't seize Greenland, that Russia or China will. The whole notion that some country needs to be seized is a conversation unto itself. But again, his point that if we don't seize them, that Russia or China will. Professor Burgess, your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's absurd on its face. Denmark is a member of NATO. If Russia or China tried to militarily seize Denmark, I mean, if that's what he means, we're supposed to take it literally, then that would trigger Article 5 and hence World War III, a direct war between the United States and Russia, which is why there's obviously a 0.00% chance that Russia or China would ever seize Denmark. There's also like, I don't know what the indication is supposed to be that they would have ever even had that design, right? I mean, Russia's bogged down in Ukraine. China might try to seize Taiwan's, someday, but that's Greenland. It's sort of, it's the kind of thing that it's hard for me to believe that anybody believes. But I guess Trump says it because it makes the pill go down a little bit more easily, because otherwise what we're left with is that he is threatening military force. That's what it means when he says we could do this the easy way or the hard way, against a U.S. ally that, in fact, we have a mutual defense arrangement with, right? If anybody attacks them, we're bound by the NATO treaty to come to their defense, and he wants to attack them pure, not because of any accusation, even any about anything that they've done, but just out of pure desire for territory. I mean, this is the kind of thing that is really unheard of in the 2020s. This is this kind of 19th century blatant imperialism. I mean, even Vladimir Putin, when he invaded Ukraine, he didn't just say, we're taking it because we want it, right? He came up with elaborate excuses. Trump is just saying, oh, we want it, so if they don't give it to us, we'll take it.
Yep. And if we don't take it, again, that Russia or China will. We heard Professor Burgess say that that flies in the face of any reality. But when we come forward in our remaining moments, I want to circle back to Venezuela, because I saw the piece that you wrote that Trump is unprepared for the chaos that's coming in Venezuela. You ran in, you abducted, you kidnapped the president, you brought him here. Now you're bragging about the fact that you're the acting president of Venezuela. We all know, to the point Professor Burgess made earlier, it was never about the drugs. It was always about the oil. But Professor Burgess argues in a pretty provocative piece that he wrote that Trump is totally unprepared for the coming chaos in Venezuela. What's he mean by that? We'll let him answer that as our exit question when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom. Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind. Like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Or that time you forgot to roll up your windows in the car wash.
Fantastic.
Yeah, a remote control would have come in handy then. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Life doesn't come with a remote control. Yikes! So you're on your own with the wasps. You have the power to take control of prediabetes. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Tired of the same old sports talk? Ready to go where the real conversation happens? Hi, I'm Ray Richardson, host of Out of Bounds, the sports show that doesn't play it safe. Every Friday at 6 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, my co-host Neil Scarborough and I get you ready for the weekend. We take you beyond the highlight reels and into the stories that matter. The controversial calls, the game-changing plays, the athletes making headlines for all the right reasons and sometimes the wrong ones. From the NFL to the NBA, college ball to the pros, if it's happening in sports, we're breaking it down with no filter and all opinion. Tune in to Out of Bounds with me, Ray Richardson, and my co-host Neil Scarborough, live every Friday at 6 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580, because the best conversations happen out of bounds. KBLA Talk 1580, where Los Angeles talks.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Professor Ben Burgess, Rutgers University philosophy professor, slow down on that, socialist political commentator and a Jacobin columnist. The chaos in Venezuela that is to come, that you suggested Donald Trump is totally unprepared for, looks like what, Professor Burgess?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends to a great extent on what the United States does. As you say, Trump has already, said many times that he plans on running Venezuela. He's jocularly referred to himself as the acting president of Venezuela. He's making determinations about what happens to Venezuela's oil, that he's going to cut off Cuba, for example. And so the real question is, does everybody in Venezuela just lie down and accept this?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, that could get very, very ugly, especially if Trump ends up deciding that he needs to put boots on the ground. This is a country with a long history of guerrilla warfare. There's FARC next door in Colombia. It's very easy to imagine real bloodshed and insurgency and counterinsurgency if things go that way. And the further he pushes, making sure that Venezuela is doing exactly what he wants, I think the greater danger there is of that. But also, I just want to say, let's assume for the sake of argument that none of that happens.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's still unleashing global chaos by doing this, because when you say, oh, we can issue an arrest warrant in a domestic American court for the head of state of another country and enforce it by sending soldiers to kidnap that head of state, well, my God, why doesn't everybody do that? You know, I mean, why isn't there a Chinese court right now, preparing an arrest warrant for the leaders of Taiwan?
Yeah. It also raises the ultimate question for me, which is how unsafe this global chaos that Donald Trump is spearheading, how this strong man's view of the world that he has, and more to the point, the folk behind him like Stephen Miller keep advancing. How do these strongman views and this global chaos, how much more unsafe does this make us? We've been saying since 9/11, it's not a matter of if, not a matter of when, but not a matter of if, but when. We know we're going to get hit at some point. It seems to me that Donald Trump is just stoking that kind of angst and anger.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially, we already have a major Venezuelan refugee crisis. It's only going to be turbocharged by adding to the chaos in the country. That's the consistent pattern of every U.S. regime change that's happened over the last decades, that, that it leads to a mass exodus of further refugees from the country as things devolve there. And it's just very easy to imagine that the ripple effects of this will reach inside the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when Russia invaded Ukraine, right? That led to attacks that happened in Moscow. I mean, this is saying, oftentimes supporters of the kind of frank American imperialism that Donald Trump is espousing will describe Latin America as their backyard. And I would just caution that if you start instigating wars and chaos in your backyard, you can't be surprised if they reach inside your house.
No, I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the greater fears, excuse me, that I have around this, that is making us ultimately more unsafe, and making us more and more of a target. Everything that Donald Trump is doing is making us more and more of a target. And somebody said the chickens will come home to roost at some point. I digress on that for now. Ben Burgis is professor of philosophy at Rutgers University, a contributor to Jacobin magazine. Honored to have had him on this program. Professor Burgis, thank you for your time. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me, Tavis.